Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, irrespective of where you're joining us from. My name is Tumlola. I'm also known as Anu. I'm the founder of TitanRConsulting, and I will be, well, I say your moderator or your coach for today for this webinar, How to Land Global Internships in 2026. Now, this webinar is primarily targeted at international students. However, if you're a domestic student in your home country, whether it's the United States or the United Kingdom or Canada, it's still going to be very beneficial. So imagine you getting all of the insights that makes international students stand out, and you're layering it on the fact that you have domestic and cultural advantage. To me, I see that as a win-win for you. So if you hear me talking a little bit about, oh, international students here and there, it's totally fine. A lot of the things that we talk about are very relatable to you. International students, welcome here. I'm very excited. First, this week, TitanRConsulting is 7 years old. And it makes me feel a little old because I started TitanRConsulting 7 years ago when I graduated from my MBA at The Ohio State University. And the reason why I started TitanRConsulting was to bridge the information gap that existed for what the reality really was for international students studying in a new country and what the expectations were that the international students actually had coming in. It was actually a huge gap. I struggled a whole lot in my first year of the MBA program, not because my school wasn't good. My school was great. The career services of my school was excellent. However, I didn't understand how to use those services. I didn't understand how to tell my story in a very coherent way where people would actually understand me and want to hire me. And this resulted in me having several interviews, up to 10 interviews in my first year, and I didn't convert any of them. You can imagine how sad, or will I say depressed, I was in the summer of 2018 when I was the only international student that was seeking a paid internship that didn't get one. Fortunately for me, I was able to work with a startup in Columbus, Ohio during that summer, and that opportunity really opened doors for me. And most importantly, I became more self-aware. I really sat down and I said, tell me, what are you going to do with your life? How are you going to make sure that you do not wallow in self-pity? And I did just that. I started looking at areas in my application over the last year where I struggled, the things that I didn't do well at. And then I restarted my job search again. And this time, not only did I land all of those interviews, I was able to land 3 offers in companies like Microsoft, Highmark Health. And I actually did not get Microsoft for the internship, but I did get it for full time. And that's how I started my career in Microsoft in the marketing team, or I would say go to market. What was really very interesting about this is I'd never had a marketing experience, but how did I get in all of this, all of the strategies that I decided to use to teach other international students, because I got a second chance. A lot of people do not get second chances. And that's why TitanRConsulting exists, to make sure that you make the best out of the opportunities that you get the first time you get them. Because not everybody is going to have an opportunity to interview again. Not everybody is going to be like me that had 7 interviews and didn't pass any and still got more interviews. For some people, it's just going to be 1. It's just going to be 2. How do you make sure that those 2 interviews that you get, you make the best of it? And that's why TitanRConsulting exists. Our solutions, our service areas are divided into 2. We have graduate admissions coaching and we have graduate career coaching. For graduate admissions coaching, yes, we were primarily focused on the United States. I would say 80% of our clients were United States clients, but we do offer services in other big programs in Europe, in the UK, in Canada. We've had clients get into Rotman, into London Business School, into Oxford, and all of those other large schools in Europe. So I understand if you are in a country where you have like the F1 visa ban and you cannot come into the United States, there are other good opportunities for you to actually advance your career and pursue higher education in other countries. So just let us know, and we're happy to have a conversation with you. Now, today we'll be focusing on the career section of our services. And I think here you can see where we have a couple of companies where our clients have gotten job offers from. We have been able to celebrate up to 500 job offers in the last 7 years of us operating, and the average salaries of our clients have been base salary average of 130, 140,000, and that does not even include the sign-on bonuses and the stock options that they get. Now, one thing that really differentiates these particular type of clients are because they decide to put in the work, they decide to put in the effort. They are not just waiting for you to do things for them. As we hold their hands, they are also holding themselves very, very accountable. I would say TitanRConsulting is we do it together with you. We don't just do it for you, because that's the only way that you would excel, not just to get the job, but excel when you get on the job. So if you're expecting us to just, do everything for you and then magic happens, maybe TitanR is not exactly the right place for you. But if you're interested in putting in all of the work, all of the effort together with us, and we being your guide, then you are in the right place. Now, before I started speaking on the presentation, I asked everybody if you could talk about who you currently are. We have a very close knitted group, so we're not a lot here. So it's not like we're 100. So it's totally fine. You can talk about your name. You can tell me who your name. I mean, you don't have to say your name. Technically, I can say your name, so it's fine. You can say, oh, you're an international student, or you're a prospective MBA candidate, or a prospective master's in accounting candidate. You are interested in going to this country, or you are currently in this country. And then you can talk about what you are interested in learning in the program. That would really help me tailor the presentation. I do have something really nice to teach you all today, but I would love to tailor the presentation a little bit to what you all are interested in hearing. So here I can see that Mayor spoke about how they're an international student from Pakistan. They are an incoming full-time MBA student at ASU. That's really great. They want to pivot into consulting. They want to get a career change. They want to get deep insight into the process so they can secure internships leading to job offers, which is great. Then we have Chidera, is a first-year MBA candidate at Simon. They want to gain some practical advice on how to navigate the recruiting process as an international student and land a full-time role after graduation. That's very good. You all can also include that information. Now, the way I am going to be structuring this, I'm going to be targeting international students. Like I said previously, if you are not an international student, it's totally fine. Everything that we're mentioning here is also applicable to you. In fact, it's even more beneficial to you because you don't have the sponsorship issue on top of it. Now, for incoming international students, you probably have not even done any form of application at all. But for the ones that are currently in business school, there is one issue that a lot of people face, which is the application gap. They submit a whole lot of applications. So I've submitted hundreds, even maybe 1,000 applications. And then the response rate is really low. And even with the low response rate, they don't get interviews. Now, everybody assumes that, oh, their resume is solid, but there's a lot of silence, right? But people are wondering, how come I don't get anything? What is the issue? Well, there might be some truth, but this truth is not 100% truth. A lot of people assume that 70 to 80% of the jobs are filled through networking, not job boards. Now, that is not 100% truth. I know that that might be taken into context as you need to get a referral. You need to get people to network with before you get a job. That is not 100% correct. The reason why that is mentioned there is there are so many things that networking offers you that improves and increases your chances of landing an opportunity. For example, if you network with me before having like a Microsoft internship interview, for example, I'm able to share insights regarding what my own interview process look like, what the interview process looks like currently. Those things increases your chances of landing the internship, not because I have any say, but because you are going to be speaking from an insider point of view. And then your interviewers are going to look at you like this person is really, really very prepared. So that's why all of the anchors of an effective job search must be ticked before you actually land very good offers. You rarely find people that have only done just one part of an effective job search and they really get it well. Which brings me to our next slide. And then it also talks about what an effective job search strategy is. And I will tell you before I talk about this. So an effective job search strategy has 4 main anchors. The first one, we have the application strategy. Application strategy talks about when you apply, where you apply, what you apply to, when you apply, where you apply, what you apply to. When you apply, talks about the timing. I know that there are a lot of roles that are possibly open for 4 months and 5 months. And you might be saying that, oh, this role is still open, I can still apply to it. The reason why you are getting rejected is because you're applying to roles that have been posted more than 72 hours. That reduces your chances of getting any callbacks, irrespective of the country that you're in. Put yourself in the shoes of a recruiter. The recruiter has posted this role, and the recruiter only wants to hire maybe 10 people for the role. This is university recruiting, not like an individual role. So if you're like seeking internships or full-time positions, they've already applied, and then 500 people have applied for the role within 3 days. Now, the recruiter only wants to hire 5 to 10 people. So they have seen the 500 resumes, and out of the 500, 70 of them are so solid. They pick out the 70. They are going to go through the process with that 70. They're not coming back. So if you think your resume is 10 over 10, you are just applying after 72 hours, after the recruiter already picked out the first set of resumes. You will be wondering, why is my resume not converting? It's not converting because you applied late. That is the problem of when you apply. So most people are applying so late. Now, this is where opportunities exist for you as an international student. This is where we talk about pre-MBA opportunities, right? If you were just getting into business school, irrespective of if it's an MBA, a master's in business, a master's in accounting, there are a lot of pre-resumption opportunities for you. As an international student, you should tap into those pre-resumption opportunities. Now, I know that Mir spoke about trying to get you into consulting. I love that. Now, consulting provides a lot of pre-MBA opportunities. You have McKinsey, Inspire, BCG Unlock, Bainbase. As an international student, it's great to tap into those opportunities, right? Because those are the opportunities that I won't say it's easier, but you are an early applicant, right? The competition is not as steep. It's not so difficult at that point. It's difficult, but not as much. Now, if you wait, now you will start competing with domestic candidates, and then it becomes really tough. So put yourself in the minds of these companies. They have opened these early applications to international students, women, Black people, members of the LGBTQ community, and then they've already hired maybe 30 or 20 of people that meet the criteria. Now, normally you should have applied there, but you did not. But you wait till January where they want to hire people that are like broader people. They are going to want to fill their particular internship class with domestic candidates. Think about it. Everybody wants a diverse pool, but diversity also includes putting in domestic students too, which is supposed to be the ratio of domestic to international students. So it doesn't make sense that we have maybe 20% international students, like generally, and then we have 80% domestic. And then in their internship pool, it will not be 80% international, 20% domestic. No, they want to also maintain that pool. So if you have not positioned yourself well to get in at the early slot, at that later slot, they're not looking for you, no matter how good you are. That's why a lot of international students don't get in at the later spot. So you're supposed to be looking at early on. So the same thing for all of the other applications that are not consulting. Now, I also want you to think through like also when you apply, I know you're interested in a particular focus area. You want to do consulting, you want to do this. However, you should not be so myopic and you should not streamline your focus area to just one particular industry. Because what happens is if that industry doesn't work out for you, nothing works out for you that year. So I need you to be very open-minded. I can work in all of these industries. You cannot hate what you don't know and what you haven't experienced. Like I said, I worked at PwC. I'd done just finance. Actually, was a CPA for Nigeria. And then I got into Microsoft in marketing. I haven't done any marketing before. So how did I get in? I applied to all of the available roles for full-time positions for MBAs at Microsoft. I applied to the finance, the marketing, the sales, and I think they had business development. And I got the interview for marketing. If I did not apply to that marketing, the recruiter is not going to move my application from finance to marketing. They would not. So as you're thinking through what like the effort you want to put in, you need to start thinking about, maybe I should be open-minded. As an international student, get into that company. Even if you desire something else, just get into that company, and then you can work your way, right? So that is where we are talking about the when you apply. Then where you apply to, which is you need to start thinking through your companies that you're targeting. Make sure that you're not targeting just one industry. You're targeting companies across different industries, at least 5 industries, so that if one industry doesn't work out, the other industries will possibly work out, right? And then you also think about like your platform. So not just Indeed, not just LinkedIn. There are other platforms that I would actually show you. It's very important that you think about those. That's from an application strategy. Now, your resume strategy is the next one, because for the job search strategy, there are 4. Your resume strategy, your resume is a qualifying document. Your resume actually speaks where you're not present. And I know a lot of people think, oh, networking is what is the most important. Actually, your resume being very good is the most important. You would get most of my interviews that I get, even as a professional right now in corporate America, is through direct applications. I can tell you that for a fact. But the reason why a lot of people do not get that is not because your resume, sometimes your resume is not good, but a lot of times it's because they apply at the wrong time, which I already discussed. Now, the content of your resume should showcase 4 things: what you did, why you did it, how you did it, and the result. What you did, why you did it, how you did it, and the result. Each resume bullet point should have that. The recruiter should be able to understand what is the depth of expertise that this person actually has. Now, what kind of problems have they solved in their role? What did they use to solve those problems? So what are their functional capabilities? What are their functional skills? Is this person a product manager? Is this person a finance manager? How many finance technical skills have they used to get their work done? Right? And then you're talking about results, measurable, quantifiable in percentages, in numbers, and in the currency of the country that you're in. Those things are so important for you to actually do. So those are the things that you should be thinking about, thinking through. It's very important that you actually do that, right? And once your resume already has that, then you're thinking through, oh, your resume titles. Do not think that you need to use the same title in your home country. Sometimes the title in your home country is not the same title in your studying country, right? So if you're in the UK, for example, and you did work in a particular country, maybe in Pakistan or in India or in Nigeria, what do they call that role in the UK is what you should be focusing on. Don't use the same role title in Nigeria, because that won't get you anywhere, because the recruiters don't understand that. They are not in the Nigerian market. You need to think about that, right? And you need to make sure that your job titles are the job titles that align with what recruiters are interested in looking out for here in whatever country you're in, the United States, if that's where you are in. And then if you're an intern or you're seeking internships or even full-time positions, you need to start thinking through, where do they hire interns the most? Now, I was speaking to a couple of students and they were telling me, I want to work for WHO, which is not bad. It's a good goal. But if you're an MBA candidate in the United States, I don't know if WHO hires in Europe for MBA candidates. They are not hiring MBA interns for WHO in the United States. You should have done that research. Instead of you wasting time looking for internships in WHO in the United States, they are not hiring for that. So you need to figure out, is WHO even hiring MBAs? Are they hiring masters in business analytics students? Or are they hiring computer science grads in the United States? You need to figure that out. If they are not, then you're tailoring it's going to be like a waste of time. So you need to figure that out, right? So once your resume becomes like a solid document, then we're not talking about networking. I want to give some context here. All of the things I've mentioned here, it takes me about 3 hours each to teach somebody to be successful in all those areas. So everything I just said is just a little bit of the puzzle. So if you're struggling to replicate what I have said, know that I have just spoken to you about just a little bit of what will make you successful in that area. So if you need more help and more support, you can send us an email. you can send me a message, send us an email. My email address will be included in the chat section. Then the third one is networking. Networking is very important. Now, think about networking as you growing your career community or your career ecosystem. Networking is not a zero-sum game where you just talk to one person because you want to get something from the person. No, networking goes beyond that. You are talking about how to improve your communication skills and grow your community that you would need in the future. Right? Very, very important. Now, I always give this example. I love gardening. Like I just planted like peppers, habaneros, and bell peppers for the season yesterday. When you were starting a seed, like a pepper seed, you start them indoors, right? Because you cannot just plant them directly in the soil. They will not grow, at least in my area. So they're indoors for like 2 months. Now, when they are ready and mature to be transplanted in the soil, you don't just transplant them immediately. You do something every day for 2 weeks where you bring them out to get accustomed to the sun, and then you take them back in like a few hours every day. That way they are growing like more resistant, and then they're growing more resistant to the harsh conditions, the harsh weathers of being outside. And then after 2 weeks, we transplant them. If I move them from inside my house directly outside, they would wither away and they would die. The sun would be so scorching for them. So that is how you are as an international student. You've been indoors, which is your own home country, where you've been very comfortable, and now you are trying to succeed in another country. You need to acclimatize to the new weather slowly and gently, even though you would wither away and you would struggle. That is kind of what networking does for you. So think about it as it's something gradual, and as you are taking from them, you're also giving to them, right? So I will take you through a few things about networking that you can actually also like implement, but think about networking in that way. Networking is not just, can you give me a referral? No, you are talking about your experience. You're learning from them from an experience perspective. That's how you grow and build like your career muscle. Like even 5 years from now, you can pick up areas of those connections that you have built 5 years ago, and they would be meaningful as you continue to grow your career in the country that you're in. Then finally, we have interviews. Interviews are very, very important because you're not just talking about technical capabilities. The interviews here, like staff framework, and I know a couple of you actually already leverage staff framework to get into school. But now, from a career perspective, your actions need to be very interesting. You're telling it as a story, and you need to have your stories written out. I always tell people the shortest pencil or the shortest pen is smarter and brighter than the brightest brain. I know a lot of you are so smart. You're like, oh, I have those stories in my head. You do not. You are going to start babbling. And I always tell, when I interview people, I know when you're not prepared. And a lot of you, I know everybody here speaks English, right? To a very large extent, very good. You are not coming to the interview to speak English. Nobody cares if your English is 90% or 100%. They want to see the impact that you have done in your work. And what happens is if you keep the story in your head, when they ask you different questions and they tweak it a little bit, you're confused. Your brain, you're smart, but it doesn't really work like that. So the best way to prepare yourself for interviews is to type out your interview answers. So every question needs to have a different answer. Don't say that I have 5 stories in my head. I can have those 5 stories for different questions. No, you cannot, because the same story can be applicable to leadership. It could be applicable to problem solving. It could be applicable to failures. However, when they ask you those questions, what they want to test is very, very different. Because from a failure perspective, the competency that they expect you to talk about is very different from the competency that they expect you to talk about when you are talking about problem solving. So if they ask you that question and you don't have your questions typed out, written out, You are just going to be winging it. And that's why you're wondering, oh, I do a lot of interviews, I don't get it. You cannot get in because you are just winging it and you're just saying, what I say, rubbish sometimes. And I'm sure some of you are wondering, but my interviewer was nodding. First of all, nodding is a normal human reaction. And your interviewer cannot be rude. Like if you're like winging it, I can tell. I'm not going to close my laptop. I will just be smiling. I'll say, oh, thank you so much. It was really nice meeting you. And if you're polite enough and you send me a request on LinkedIn, I will accept. It does not mean I'm going to give you the offer because you did not do well. So if you've been assuming that, oh, I think I really did well, my interviewer was nodding, I'm like, nodding is just a normal human reaction. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you're saying the right things if you have not written out your answers ahead of time. So you need to think about how exactly can I get my interview game on? As I have been in corporate America for more than 7 years, I have over 30 interview answers to different questions. I have over 30. And I can get up to 50 if I want. Because for every question, there's a different competency they're trying to test. And I need to really think deep. This particular question that, for example, a question asking me about ambiguity or adaptability, what did I do to showcase the competency aligned with ambiguity and adaptability? That's what I should talk about. And because I have typed it out, I have written it out, I learn it, I keep trying to learn it till it becomes a part of me. Most people that come and they present and they talk and you're like, oh, they're so fluent. They practice what they say. Nobody is really all that, oh, I really tough. You need to practice what you say. If you don't practice, you will sound unprepared. You sound very unprepared and you don't want to do that. Now, mentioning all of those 4 things, if you're an international student, you can see that it's probably harder for you because from a networking perspective, you don't have any hometown network. From a communications perspective, like the way I've been speaking, there are cultural communication gaps, right? I'm in America, so I'll give that example. The American system is very big on you talking about your successes, you bragging about the things that you have done. For a lot of international students, their culture doesn't encourage or support that. So you need to start thinking, how exactly do I remove myself from that cultural mindset that restricts me from speaking a lot about my successes and now retrain my brain to talking about it. So you need to identify where you have cultural gaps. So if in your culture, it's not a big thing to talk about your successes. Now that you're an international student, it's a big thing. You should talk about your successes, especially if you're an international student in the West. Now, visa timeline pressure. If you require sponsorship, you're not operating on the same timeline as somebody that does not require sponsorship. So when somebody that doesn't require sponsorship is saying, I would apply next week, you should be applying now and today. That's literally why it's harder for you. And then geographical isolation. A lot of you are isolated from your family, your friends. And while a lot of people don't talk about it, it's a huge thing. You cannot really excel career-wise if mentally you're not in the right place. So you need to look for community. You need to find support. And community doesn't mean you have to just look for people that are from your home country. No, you need to be in a community of people where you all are trying to do the same thing. So maybe 3 international students, you're trying to support yourselves. If you fail, this other person is encouraging you. And then you also find something that makes you happy, or maybe go to therapy. Most of your schools have therapy sessions. So probably go to student health services. Now, I explained all of that, so you all are very, very aware of the 4 stages of an effective job search. And if you are lacking in either, then you know where you should fix your issues. Now, I'll talk a little bit about like networking here. Networking is really, I would say it's one of the things that is a little very odd and stressful for international students. Nobody wants to network. They don't want to network. And I totally get it, right? But I'll use this like four-step networking framework for you. So thinking about identifying who to network with, engaging them strategically, building the real relationships before you now activate opportunities. for a few people, I've seen a few people reach out to me and they tell me, I know somebody reached out to me once and they tell me, and they're like, oh, hi, Tommy, I would like to talk to you about a few things. I mean, the person is Nigerian. I always give concessions to Nigerians because I understand that you might not really get it. But the person is like, oh, this is my number, call me. I'm like, huh? Wait, what? Why would I call you? Like, I don't understand. That is not only rude, that is, I don't know. Another person, I also said, oh, please schedule time on my calendar. And the person sends me a FaceTime. I don't even know what that is. First of all, you assume that I use an iPhone. Is this a class thing? I mean, I know Nigerians could be funny like that. Why would you do that? Why? I mean, I still spoke to the person and I told the person that is not acceptable, but I only did that because I know that I'm Nigerian. And if you do this to somebody else, they can just block you forever. Those things are very, very irritating. Don't do that. Once you find somebody you want to reach out to, always add a note. I personally, I do not accept anybody on LinkedIn that does not add a note. Except I know you, except you are my family or you are my friend, or I actually met you somewhere and then we had a conversation for like 15 minutes. So I actually know you. But if I don't know you and you just click connect with me, I'm not going to accept you because why? Why would I? You need to make the effort to add a note to anybody you try to connect with on LinkedIn. Because why are you not adding a note? You need to make an effort to add a note. So it's as simple as, oh, hi, Tommy. I saw your profile. It's really inspiring. I would like to learn about your journey from Fisher to Microsoft. I'm an incoming Fisher MBA student for this year. It doesn't have to be anything out of this world. That is basic enough. And then I would accept you. If you add a note, I most likely would accept you 95, 99% of the time. If you don't add a note, I would not. Because why don't you add a note? It's a rule of thumb for me. Forget it. I will not accept you. So that is what a lot of people will do. So if that's how you have been connecting with people and you're saying, oh, people are not accepting, why would they accept you when you're not adding a note? And then also how you identify people, you're reaching out to some very senior executive. While that is okay, for some of them, it's better and easier for you to follow them first. Follow them, get insights about the things that they post, what they say, and then you can now connect with them based off something that they have said, right? Especially if they are very senior executives. And then another problem is sometimes when you identify people you want to connect with, you haven't really checked their profile to be sure that this person actually engages on LinkedIn at all. Some people haven't been on LinkedIn for years, for months. They are not there. So somebody that has not been on LinkedIn for a long time and you connect with the person will not accept you, not because the person doesn't want to accept you, but the person is not on LinkedIn. Person doesn't really use LinkedIn. And then you also need to know that sometimes you might do everything right. Add a note, but like LinkedIn is also another social media. People are stressed. They don't want to go there. And that's totally fine. And that's the reason why you don't always have to only connect with people that look like you, because I know international students mostly want to connect with people that look like them, talk like them, behave like them. If you only wanted to connect with people that look like you and talk like you, then you should have stayed in your home country. Why are you coming somewhere else? Why? Just stay there and connect with all of the people that look like you in your family. That's how I see it. But if you're moving to a different place, you have to be uncomfortable with connecting with people that don't look like you, talk like you, think like you, because that's the only way you will get diverse ideas and perspectives. But a lot of you connect with only people that look like you are from your hometown. Then you're like, oh, Ghanaians don't like connecting with other Ghanaians. Why are they Ghanaians the only people that are in the United States? Are they the only people that are in the United Kingdom or in Canada? So why are you hell-bent on connecting with only Ghanaians? You need to see it from that way. Expand your horizon, expand your thinking. Now, for who to network with, when you're thinking about who to actually network with, you are targeting people in roles or industries that you are interested in. So for example, you have maybe three interest areas, maybe consulting, fintech, and tech, and you are thinking about being a product manager in fintech or tech, and then you're thinking about being like an associate in consulting, then you target people in those specific industries there. Then alums in your field. So this is actually a huge secret weapon for you. When I see people from Fisher trying to connect with me, I want to connect with them. In fact, most people from Fisher that don't add a note, I always connect with them because I feel the connection with my school. So alums are one of your lowest hanging fruit. So you look for people that went to your school. You start with your college. So if you're in the College of maybe Sciences or in the College of Business, you start with people in those areas that are working in the companies that you are interested in or in roles that you are interested in. There are higher chances of them connecting with you. Now, the third one is MBA interns or full-time hires. I used MBA as this example because primarily targeted at MBAs, but irrespective of your degree, right? You look for people who are who have done your course or your program, and they are already working in those target companies, especially in the last 1 to 2 years. They are such a key tool for you because a lot of them are very interested in talking to you. And one good thing about it is, yes, maybe you're seeking a master's in accounting intern or an MBA intern at Amazon, and this person interned last year. One good thing about speaking to that person is the person succeeded at getting into Amazon, yeah, but the person has also failed to get into some other places or even got other offers. So the person is not only sharing an Amazon insight with you, the person will be able to tell you a lot about their successes and their failures in other places. So you are getting so much benefit from connecting with people that were able to excel in that particular role. A lot of times people think that, oh, I only have to connect with senior people. No, 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 no. People that are your peers who have cracked it are the easiest people to connect with, to learn from. They're the easiest. They're the easiest. Then recruiters, hiring managers, recruiters are good. A lot of times they don't really accept because sometimes you don't really know who the recruiters are for certain roles. So I would say be more open-minded, connect with as many recruiters as possible as you can, if you can. Then hiring managers, if you're seeking like internships, specific internships, most internships don't have specific hiring managers because internship programs are very generic, right? They hire like 50 interns and then they put you in different teams. So as of when they have the application open, you don't really see hiring managers. However, there are some positions that have hiring managers that the hiring managers say, oh, I'm hiring for a particular internship. So the best way to do that is when you go to LinkedIn, you just put hiring, maybe product manager intern or hiring business this intern, you are able to see it. Then the last one, content creators. I know a lot of people are wondering, oh, what content creators? So you need to figure out, okay, who are the people that are creating content for my specific industry? One, they are good because you learn a lot about your industry from the industry you're interested in. And please, you need to be very careful. A lot of content creators they're not knowledgeable. That's why I think the industry should be regulated. Like people are just creating content out of their own experience. So you need to be sure that this person actually has good insights. Now, you don't have to connect with them directly. Following them is fine. And then you get a lot of insights. When you follow them, you see a lot of people that post and comment on their pages. Some of those people are in the industry. You will see some recruiters. That's where you get to see, oh, this person connected or this person commented on this post. This person is a recruiter. I can connect with this person. So those are insights that you can also gain and you can also get from like the content creators. So our next slide, we'll be talking about, there is going to be like a LinkedIn hands-on demo. I would share my screen. Let me share my screen. Give me a second. I will just show you something pretty quick for 5 minutes. Yeah, I believe everybody can see my screen now. This is my LinkedIn profile. So if you're thinking about maybe connecting with somebody on LinkedIn and you're wondering, oh, how should I connect with the person? I'm just going to assume that you're trying to connect with an MBA intern at Amazon. So there are different ways to do it. But let me try because mere search is going to Arizona State. So I'm going to start from my school, from the school perspective. So Harry. So this is WP Carey School of Business. This is your School of Business. I will always say start with your School of Business. And then if you don't find a lot of people in your School of Business from an alum perspective, now go to the entire university. The reason why I say that is now I work in technical product management, but for undergrad, I studied accounting. So if somebody is trying to find me in my undergraduate college and the person is trying to find product managers and the person only goes to the College of Science and Technology, they're not going to find me there because I'm not there. I was in the College of Business, right? So you need to know that there are people that are in positions and roles that you desire that do not have the same linear background that you are thinking about. So sometimes if it doesn't work from your college, now you expand to the entire university. The reason why I say start with your college is for roles at probably Google, Amazon, Microsoft, there are a lot of people in your college that probably are working there. So you start with them. Then if you don't find enough, then you go to your entire university. So here I will go to Arizona State. So I'll go to alumni. Now, one thing about this is even though it has alumni, it also includes current students. It includes current students. So let me check and do Bain. I just want to see people in Bain. There are 28 alumni in Bain. Now, what you need to know is this is the School of Business. It includes everybody from MBA to Masters of Accounting, Masters of Business. It includes undergrad, grad, and PhD students. So don't think it's only for MBAs. That's because I know Maria is an MBA candidate. That is why I've highlighted that. So you can see 28. Some of them no longer work in Bain. Some still work in Bain. And some people would come up, not because they work in Bain, but because they probably have taken a certification from Bain and it's in their LinkedIn profile, then it pops up and it's not under education. So you need to know that. So all of these people, now I can open this person up. I try, right, not to click. If you click connect, it doesn't give you an option to add a note. And I don't want to be that person, right? So try to open the person up. And then you can see I clicked him because I have 1, 2, 3 mutual connections with him. So it's easier for him to accept me because we have a mutual connection. Now, because there are only 28 here, it's not a lot of people, so I could scroll down. But there are some organizations where you type the name, you see like 1,000 alums. That's too much. So what you should do when you get those is you go to the end here and you go to how you are connected. You click on second connection. That it shows that you're connected. You have like mutual connections, right? But because this is just 28, I can go through everybody's profile and figure it out. But I'm only checking this person. His name is Kayan. He's at Bain. He's an associate. He started out this April. Okay. Now, one thing about him is he actually did not do an MBA. He's actually just a bachelor degree holder. I don't know when he had his bachelor's degree because that information is not there, but that's totally fine. It doesn't matter. Like because somebody has a bachelor degree doesn't mean they're not going to be relevant to you. So you need to check that. And then something else that you will now check that I always ask is you need to confirm if this person is active. So you can see here that Kenyan posted 5 days ago, but the last post was a year ago and then 2 years ago, right? And you're wondering, wait, does this mean it only posts every year? Now, most people don't post, but a lot of people react and comment. So you click on show all, and then you check reactions. Reactions is actually my key signal. So 15 hours ago, he liked this. Then this was him posting 5 days ago. 3 days ago, he liked this. 5 days ago, he commented. 4 days ago. So he's active on LinkedIn. So that's okay, right? And then I connect with him. Now, from connecting with him, I would go click, I can click connect here, or if I go to more, there might be personalized invites. I click on connect, then I add a note. Always add a note. Make sure you do not misspell the name. So I'll be like, oh, hi, Kayan. Trust you're great. I'm an incoming MBA candidate, or I'm a first year MBA student at WP Carey. Now, for him, you can say WP Carey. However, if you're connecting with somebody that did not go to WP Carey, use the name of your university, use Arizona State. You cannot assume that everybody on the internet knows your business school name, right? So like you can assume that. You need to be careful. And then you just look for things in your profile that are similar to his profile. You look for those things and then you say, oh, I also studied maybe a bachelor's in economics and I have worked as a product manager for 3 years, but I would love to transition into consulting. I see you have done that. I would like to learn about like your experience and how the education at WP Carey prepared you for that. That is a clear ask, right? You must always have a clear ask. You must always say, I would like to learn about this. Never say, I would like you to refer me. Never, it should always be about you have seen something in the profile, you like it, you like to learn more about how they were able to do that, especially if they're alums, how they were able to transition. If the person is like an MBA intern or an intern from some other, maybe a master's in accounting intern, you talk about, oh, I see that you transitioned from core engineering to probably data analysis. I'd like to learn how you did that. Without necessarily saying, oh, I want to see how you got into Google. No, you don't want to exactly do that. You want to focus on how they were able to be successful functionally, how they were able to build their functional skills to be successful. You should think about it in that particular way, right? That's how you should do it. Then let me go into some other thing. I mean, there are other ways we can do LinkedIn. My LinkedIn coaching session will take you 3 hours if I'm going to optimize your entire LinkedIn for you. So I can do that. We literally have 8 more minutes. So I just showed you that as an example. Another platform that a lot of people don't know about is a platform called ADP List. So a lot of people are wondering, oh, well, a lot of people don't accept me on LinkedIn. It could be really difficult. Well, yeah, that's true. There's a platform called ADP List where you see a lot of mentors, people that can possibly mentor you. I used to be a mentor on ADP List 3 years ago. I'm back as a mentor though, and I've opened just some time on my calendar. Now, when I started on ADP List, it was free mentorship, but now some people have like paid sessions on ADP List. I actually did put this webinar on ADP List. Please move out. So if you want to explore on ADP List, you go to explore. There are free mentors in different areas. So you can start in 2 ways. If you're thinking about a finance manager mentor or you're thinking about product marketing, it's easy. You can just type the type of role. However, if you're focused on like the company, you can type Google, you can type Microsoft, you can type FedEx, you can type Bain. You will see people there. You can also see the country, right? This helps you connect with people in those companies. And then from there, you can now connect with them on LinkedIn. In fact, you might not need to add a note because you just say, oh, can I connect with you on LinkedIn? Like, you don't have to add a note because you already spoke to you. So they know you, they'll most likely accept you, right? Now, what you need to learn here is you are doing this to get insights about the company. You are trying to get insights about not just hiring, the culture, what the company prioritizes, so that when you get into an interview, you can speak about it, right? So here you can search, you can click. If I check this person is in Singapore, the person is a freelance creative director. I'm not interested in things like that, but I'm just going to show you. If you're, I can see the person has several free sessions. So if I want a career strategy mentorship, I would book and I can pick a time. Now, please know that this does not mean you go there and say, help me review my resume. A lot of people value their time. Like for me, for example, like I do give some free sessions, but a lot of my services are paid. But I'm just giving you as an opportunity to try to connect with as many people in different companies as possible, so you don't think that your connection is only limited to LinkedIn, right? So I would say that with that being said, as we're trying to conclude the session, I want to give 5 minutes for people to ask questions. You can type in your question in the chat. I would love to answer any of the questions that you have. And then that would also bring me to talking about what we do, our services. When it comes to you being, well, I say successful, most people need somebody not just to hold them accountable, but to show them how to do these things. Now, everything that I've shared with you in the last 55 minutes, it might seem that that was probably a lot, but that's like 5% of the work that you have to do. It's a lot of work. I'm not going to say it's not, it's a lot of work to be successful. It's not going to drop down. You have to work hard for it. So if you're interested in me helping you, holding your hands, please send us an email and also schedule a free time, 15 minutes free chat on my calendar. That would be included here. So you can schedule a free time on my calendar. I would have a conversation with you. I can look through areas of your application. Bring anything that you want me to help you address, right? It's 15 to 30 minutes. So bring anything if you want me to help you take something out of your resume, if you want me to brainstorm an interview question with you, be very, very targeted with what you bring so you can get good results and outcome from the session. And then if you are just getting into business school, or you're already in business school, or you're already in school, graduate school, and you're thinking about how do you make the best out of the career part of your graduate school, I'm going to be having, I call it a Head Start Refresh program targeted at international students. Domestic students can also attend, that are focused, that is focused majorly on elevating their careers in the country that they are currently in. And it's not limited to people that are just in the United States. So if you're interested in saying, how exactly do I reposition myself to make sure that I get these opportunities and these offers? Yes, it's hard, but it's not impossible. People are getting offers. I had a client who got 3 offers for his internship, and he's one of the most serious people I've ever heard, I've ever mentored and worked with. So those things are not impossible for you. They're not impossible. So if you're interested, send us a message. We'll be sending you more details. Everybody that attended this meeting today, you will also see the link to schedule the free one-on-one session. Let me get it out to you right now so you can schedule the free session. And then we do have an ebook. If you're interested in learning more about how to land internships. So more about the things that I discussed today, but a little bit more in depth. You can request for our ebook. The information would also be included in the chat. TitanRC services, please make sure that we include the link to the ebook there in the chat. There, I've included a link to my Calendly, has also been included. So go ahead and send a message as you want. I have 2 more minutes, or I can still stay for an extra 3 minutes, so 5 minutes. So if you have any questions, please ask. I'm here. And will I say thank you all for focusing and listening to the session. Thank you. So anybody that has any questions, please go ahead and ask. Everybody's shy. Uh-oh. Nobody wants to ask any question?